Good day, everybody. Welcome to episode 99 of the Teacher Emilio podcast. I'm your host, Emilio, and this is an interesting episode and one that, well, it's obviously interesting, special, and it is an episode that, to be very honest with you, a part of me doesn't want to do, but I also get a feeling that I have to put this episode out, and it's basically because it has to do with what to do when you fail. And more specifically when you fail a test, or maybe when that there might be a goal or something that you are going for, and for whatever reason you don't get it. And the main reason why I'm filming this is because something happened, and it is that, well, unfortunately I didn't pass the Japanese proficiency exam, the Japanese test, or the Japanese IELTS and PTE, like I tell you guys. And look, it's not good. But on the good notes, looking back at Killing the Dragon Part 2, a really cool thing is that when I said this to some of my students in class, this student said to me, "Oh, so are you doing Killing the Dragon Part 3? And the cool thing is that without noticing, it became, or sometimes the episodes have got a theme, or like the message may resonate with some people. So it is crazy hearing others saying Killing the Dragon. I never thought that, that impact would be there. So I said to the student, no, maybe Killing the Dragon Part 3 might be when I finally pass the test. I'm glad. I mean, it's good and bad, because something happened during the exam that really threw me off, and putting that incident on the side and being very self-critical, I have been, doing my best to juggle with like work, life, studies, putting out the podcast, and doing my private classes as well. And I think there's been improvement. Well, not only I think, the results say it. It's almost as if this is the bar to pass. This time I was like a bit closer than before. Maybe the first time I would have been here. Now it's a little bit better. Not good enough to the point of saying that I'm going to pass. So I think that an easy way to put it is that, imagine if you're taking IELTS, it's like I might be half a band off, especially in reading. That's like the most challenging one, because, there is a lot of, Japanese characters, Chinese symbols, etc. But a lot of kanji, basically, for those of you who are interested in Japan and Japanese. And looking back, I really told myself, no, I don't want to make this episode. I don't want to come up here and say that I failed the test. And it's just not nice, It reminded me thinking, or when I compare this with like triathlon or with races, when I did long distance races, there was a time when I took a cycling race and something happened in a training, and I think maybe I pulled a muscle or something happened, and I said, no, I'm Emilio, I'm gonna do this, it's okay. And then it just got to the point where I couldn't pedal, I couldn't push down with my left leg, and I was just pulling, because the clip-in shoes on the bicycle let you do that. And then I was told, look, mate, you have a heel and you are like at the last checkup point. If you don't make it, you're on your own. And that's like, it was so bad, just telling myself, okay, put me on the bus and I'm not finishing the race. So it's not a nice feeling. And with this, the filming of this episode, a part of me thinks that it could be like that. Just me coming up here. It is obviously 10 times better to say, oh, look, I've passed the exam, let's celebrate. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And I always think of solutions and what we can do with what we have. And look, despite not passing, as I said in the episode before, it's good, the fact that it wasn't, that there is a bit of improvement. And I thought, okay, look, maybe we can get something good from this bad experience. So I'll tell you, one is how you can cope with dealing with failure, or like maybe some recommendations. Then I guess the second thing is maybe the strategy that I had and the plan moving forward. And then the third thing, it's basically what you should do if you're listening to this, or if you maybe know someone who didn't pass IELTS or didn't pass PTE by half a band, or by maybe more than half a band. And hopefully it's helpful for you, for them, So big thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And a part of me also really hopes that in the next few months I can, do a final update and release Killing the Dragon 3, and we can all celebrate, and I can tell you all the good things about the feeling of passing the exam. But for the moment, let's think about how to deal with this. So I guess something that sometimes it's overlooked because the COVID pandemic just finished and we overlooked this, but seeking for help. Obviously, this could be friends, this could be family. I think I have mentioned this in previous episodes, and if not, I'll put it up here. Something that could be extremely useful, at least this is something that works for me. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm an English teacher sharing what works for me, okay? So please take this with a pinch of salt, okay? If this doesn't really work or whatever, don't have a go at me. But basically, what I did after knowing about the result and checking, it was like, I guess the word would be like meditation, like just letting that bad thing sink in and trying to not necessarily understand, but simply just not letting all the anger or like all the frustration hit, like let's say my students, my wife, my family, the relationship with people that are close and important to me, right? So I guess having that time to just like, let's say, I don't know, I suppose the word could be like acknowledging the feeling, but being aware of it so much so, or to the point that I know that just because that bad thing happened, I shouldn't be like bad, or I should be careful about reacting, That's at least something that sometimes happens to me. Like if something really good happens, obviously I'll be very happy, like very cheerful. But then if something bad happens, then the opposite is true. Like I might be very serious, and then that's not good. It's not good for me, of course. It is normal, but it's also not good for those around me. And well, acknowledging that, then after having, let's say, that meditation, the next thing that really helped was, I guess, is journaling. And yes, it's as simple as just grabbing a page, a notebook, grabbing something, or I think in this case, I don't know, you could even make a video. I mean, the options are limitless, but to me, what really works out is just going to a quiet place, or like if I'm at home, not putting any music, just being very, let's say, zen in that sense. Not many distractions, just me, pen, paper, or mechanical pencil, and that's it really. And then just whatever I feel or whatever stress I may have, I will just like write that down. Sometimes I like to write it as a story. Sometimes I write it like a monologue. Other times I just basically describe the situation, so it's not much so the story. And other times I just list basically, wait, let me check. Okay, good, no cars coming. And that really helps to just try and, let's say, layer, or like to just try and get that bad thing out of my head. It never like disappears, let's say. It's not that, this is not like a magical thing that you just write it down somewhere and then you will magically forget about it and then life becomes good. Obviously not. Before I tell you, look at this beautiful view behind me. And I'm in Auckland, by the way. I'm in Auckland, New Zealand. That's also why this episode is a bit special. So I'll be talking more about that in just a bit. But going back to the reason of journaling, I think it is simply the fact that you get to, let's say, when you put the things on paper, at least for me, and maybe I am getting old. I normally say in class joking that I'm a grandpa. Maybe I'm a grandpa, maybe it's my personality. I don't know what it might be, but do let me know in the comments, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Instagram. Do let me know if this also happens to you. When I write something down, especially something that stresses me out, or like in this case, the fact that I failed the test. And when I basically put everything on paper, it's like, obviously, when you are stressed, I imagine or I think about the problem, but as soon as I write it down, it's almost like it's not in my head. It is in my head, but it feels like it is not in my head, and I'm visualizing it. It's like right in front of me. And somehow it makes it easier to, let's say, free up mental space, if that's even a thing, to like focus or look at different ways I could approach it, and that really helps. Another thing that would really help, but it's a bit out of context, is just going for a walk and enjoying beautiful nature, just like what I'm doing right now. So I guess even this episode, or like exactly what I'm doing, just going for a walk and thinking about, or just, let's say, enjoying the environment. It might be connecting with nature, it could be going for a walk, it could be just relaxing, meditating. That might really help. And again, visualizing, seeing your thoughts in paper, I get a feeling, at least for me, it's quite powerful. And I don't know, I guess the best way to describe it is freeing up mental space to then rethink about the problem. And yeah, as I'm telling you this, I think about my students, and lots of my students are engineers, and I wonder if engineers do this. I wonder if, you know, health professionals or artists. I mean, I wonder if you guys do it. So again, let me know if this is something that you have tried out. At least it works really well for me. So that would be, I guess, the first tip. But the first tip wouldn't be complete if I don't tell you something that is the next step, which is I did that, but then the next thing was to seek help. I didn't talk about this with many friends or family for many different reasons, but I suppose it's simply because it's just not nice, and I'm a very solution-based person. So after having this meditation, after, let's say, writing this journal, what I would do is then look for help. And the help was not necessarily in the form of my inner circle, like, you know, people close to me. It was more with a mental health professional. So I had a counseling session and I talked to a third party, someone that doesn't know me, that keeps everything confidential. And to me, it's also like a different type of freeing experience, because I'm talking to someone else about something and they don't know me, or they don't know me that much. And it's a different perspective. So the way I look at it is, I want to solve the problem. In this case, I want to pass the test. But I also have other things that I want to do. And having a chat with this person that is equipped and ready to help out others, it's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. And again, because we had COVID and all these other things, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is talk to someone. Don't just, you know, keep it with you. I guess putting it on paper is a step one for some of you. Maybe some of you already do this. And then, of course, the other one is going to be to talk to someone, to seek help. And no, you're not crazy, or, you know, there's nothing wrong with you. But sometimes we all need to talk to someone. And I'll take this time to say that if you are based in Melbourne, you want to talk to a professional counselor face to face, also online as well, in case you are not in Melbourne, then you should get in touch with Nestorin. And well, you know, he's been helping the Latino community as well as locals back in Melbourne. And it's crazy saying back in Melbourne because I'm not in Australia. But anyways, I'll be flying tonight, by the way, before you wonder why I'm in New Zealand. And yeah, so shout out to Nestorin. Get in touch. His details are gonna be here on the episode notes. And by the way, thank you, Nestorin, for your support throughout life, the podcast, and big hug, bro. Thank you. Okay, so getting that, now that we mentioned that key thing, the second thing is, let's say, what's my plan moving forward, in case some of you want to hear, or like in case you're curious. It is simply, since I know that my biggest challenge is reading, now my strategy is just ramping up reading. I am almost on a daily basis. I say almost because I'm also studying for the certification test in Spanish, and I started a thesis last month. So it's a matter of balancing these important things. And it is tricky because all these things are important, but at the same time, it's like hard. I wish I had a bit more time to do them separately, but the thing is, I would say, getting close to equally important, But well, that's I guess also like a time management thing. But the point I'm trying to make is with this Japanese exam, a lot of reading, and this time I'm going very hardcore on just reading a bunch of newspaper articles. And a quick tip for anyone learning a foreign language, or anyone in this case, I mean, because I assume most of you guys watching this are not trying to learn Japanese or Chinese or a language very different from English, yeah? If your mother tongue is Spanish or Portuguese, right? So what I would tell you is this tip. Normally what I do is grab a newspaper article online, I read it, I just highlight all of the new words, and I'm like very diligent with this. Sometimes I get like 80, 50, 20, it varies, you know, depending on the type of the article. But what I'm doing is getting lots of reading practice. I highlight the new words, and then what I do, and this is like the little spicy trick, so if you are preparing for IELTS or PTE, you have to pay attention, okay? Because this could be the difference between passing and failing because of the in the reading section at least. Or maybe even for listening as well. And the trick or the next step is very simple, but it is so simple yet so efficient. It is grabbing then all those new words, you just like copy and paste them from whatever website, Word, wherever you found them, and then I'm using Microsoft Word, and then I'll just put them in ChatGPT. I give ChatGPT a prompt, and it is a very simple prompt. I say, I am studying Japanese. Maybe when you do it, you say, I am studying English. Can you please tell me the meaning of these words? Sorry. And that's it really. And in your case, if you're learning English, or like if you, for example, there is a big portion of my audience who speaks Spanish. So I think there are two ways of, you know, you taking advantage of this. You could go and tell ChatGPT, please give me the definition in English in short, plain, simple, easy English. Or you could say, please tell me this word in Spanish, or of course, if you don't speak Spanish, in your mother tongue. Simple as that. And it is really efficient. It's not like magic. Then what I do is I grab those words and I basically write them down. I find that at least with Japanese, because of all the symbols, the strokes, writing it down somewhere, it's extremely efficient. Maybe because English and Spanish have got the same alphabet, or like maybe with English it's a bit different, right? Because you can remember the words more easily and you don't need to write them down, but it will really help. An extra tip is you could then, I don't know, like grab whatever ChatGPT gives you, and you can maybe copy and paste it in Word, and then you have like a new list, and you just keep adding difficult / challenging / new vocab. Wait, I can't get lost. Okay. You keep just adding new words to it, and you'll be surprised, because it's not like magic, but it's about continuing that process. And then like the more you do it, and also the more you read, then you will see those words more. And what will happen is, ideally, comprehension will slowly increase. And as comprehension increases, your reading ability increases, because you will see more words, and that will make you so efficient in the test. So especially for IELTS learners, this is a must. I really think you should do it. For PTE learners, I guess another tip I'll throw here, like a little gem for my PTE people. It is that if you're using Ape Uni, or if you're using any website from PTE, like maybe the Pearson pack, I know for sure that in Ape Uni you can do this. I don't know if you can do it. Let me see if, okay, good, I can cross. Time to run. So with Ape Uni, I know that what you can do, just running a bit. I know that with Ape Uni, what you can do is to basically add a word list within Ape Uni. So you might be doing PTE practice with you know, let's say read aloud, or in the reading section, whatever area of PTE it may be, you will be doing, you can be adding them to a word list. You just click on the word, it will give you the definition, it will give you the pronunciation, some sample sentences, but then the next step is you can click on a button and it says add to vocab list. And I think maybe because we are too busy with the activities on Ape Uni, we forget, or we may not even see it. You would be surprised by the amount of students who tell me, Emilio, teacher, I had no idea that such thing was there, so thank you for telling me. And building a vocabulary list has been a big thing. Like I said, it's not to the point that it will make you pass, but it is making the list, reviewing it, getting more comfortable. Reading faster will make you so much more efficient in the test. So please, if you get something from this video, well, actually I think everything I'm saying is important. Writing things down, relaxing, talking to a mental health professional, seeking help, building up a vocabulary list, getting a lot of reading practice, or practicing the area that you're struggling with. And as I'm talking about areas you struggle with, remember that if you need to pass IELTS, if you have to pass PTE, and you're on your own, like I am doing this with the Japanese exam, you don't have to do it on your own. I can take care of you. So if you would like to study with me, I normally do I do monthly courses as well as one-to-one tutoring. So feel free to drop me a message, ideally on Instagram, or you can also send me an email. All my details are in the show notes, so feel free to get in touch. Or if you know someone who needs to pass these exams and they're really tough, like I have done this Japanese test already 3 times, but actually I don't want to count the first one because I went with 0 practice. So let's say 2 times. I already failed this test twice, and it's the same thing with IELTS and PTE. On average, most people do these exams at least anywhere between 2 to 4 times. And if you know someone who is struggling for whatever reason and they need a bit of extra help, because we all need a bit of help sometimes, please tell them about me. That's probably the best way to support the podcast, and yeah, of course, send them this episode as well. So that is, I guess, a mix of the last 2 points, which were what I'm doing right now, what's the strategy, and the next one being like what to do if you are preparing for IELTS or PTE. I think sometimes the problem is that we may think, because I've heard this from learners, from people saying, oh, my English is really good, I talk to people at work, I can communicate, and this and that, and it is true. It is true that your English is good because of that. But I think what has happened to me with this Japanese exam is to also, and hey, this is coming from someone who feels extremely comfortable speaking in Japanese. Some of my friends would know, like I remember showing people in Japan, I can be with my wife's family and she doesn't need to be there. Obviously I like when she's there, but I don't have any, let's say, problems by just being by myself in Japan in so many different contexts. And with this confidence, I can also tell you that I know that I have to improve in other areas. And I think sometimes we have to be a bit humble, and I don't mean it in a bad way or anything, but I've had people telling me, oh, I just want to rush and pass this exam so quickly because it is expensive, the visa, blah, blah, blah. And it is true, but then people would also say, but my writing is not good, but my grammar is not good. And it's also like reminding yourself, like, okay, yes, maybe your skills in other areas are amazing, but maybe you also have to work on your other areas as well. At least that's what's happened. What happens to me. I'm sure that if there is speaking in the Japanese exam, you know, without being too overly confident, I would put it out here on the internet. I'm pretty sure I will do extremely well. Speaking will probably be my best band. Unfortunately, that test doesn't have speaking, but to make up for that, it is extremely tough with the grammar, vocabulary, and reading sections. And what I'm trying to say is that, yes, your English, if you are thinking of taking IELTS or PTE, if you are struggling, if the test is a bit tricky, it is important to also know, or let's say focus a bit on your weaknesses. This is not the type of video of saying, oh, focus on your strengths and double up on them. If your grammar is not good and you're doing PTE, you will struggle. If your pronunciation is not good, if you struggle keeping up a conversation, in PTE you will likely struggle. If you don't know how to write an essay, and if you struggle with grammar, when you go into IELTS writing, it will be almost impossible to get a 7. And the list goes on and on. I guess I will also say that it is important to change our mindset, because a lot of the times people just think, oh, how can I trick the exam? How can I memorize a phrase? Every now and then I get the odd one where people ask me, oh, Emilio, but wait, so you are a PTE teacher, do you teach the tricks as well? And my reply, if you've followed me or if you've seen my post, I would say so many times, look, I don't teach you tricks because the tricks don't work. I've made an episode about that, and the thing is, yes, I mean, there are certain phrases, certain words you can say, but that doesn't guarantee you're gonna pass the test. And you'll be surprised by the amount of people who fail these things, or who fail PTE and IELTS. Mostly PTE, because IELTS learners know a person is marking, not a computer. You can't trick a person. So it is tricky. I guess it is also me reminding you guys, or maybe your friends, or maybe anyone listening, that the focus should always be, and I know you will hate me for this, the focus should always be improving your language skills. I have talked to teachers about this, and it's interesting because it is so simple. If I'm learning to play the guitar, I'm not going to become good, or I'm not going to, let's say, play as many songs as I like if I just memorize one solo, or if I memorize one set of keystrokes. The same thing could be said with almost any discipline, right? It's not like just because you know a few phrases, you're going to smash an exam, especially a language test. I can guarantee you that. This is coming from someone who, has done them many times, and now I am somewhere in the middle, because I am the student, I have been the student, but I'm also the person that sometimes either makes activities. I mean, I don't officially work for IELTS, or like for that matter, Pearson, but I make assessments for students, so I know the challenge there, and the focus should always be improving your skills. When your skills improve, the test becomes 2-3 times easier. And if someone tells you like a story, oh no, just go do this, memorize this, I would highly recommend you don't do it. You will waste your money. Or feel free, tell your friend that he or she will lose his or her money, and they may be contacting me. And well, I'm going a bit off topic, but last story. I remember me telling a student that I had in class once, being very honest, I just told him, look, I don't recommend you should go to PTE, because this person had memorized a bunch of templates. And it's not only the templates that was the problem, of course, let me just be very clear. There were other problems, and I said, look, I highly recommend you don't do it. This is me being professional, right? I had a few options. I could have said to this guy, oh no, look, maybe you just need another 4 or 5 classes. But I knew he was gonna take the exam in 1 week's time. And it is almost impossible. It is almost like me saying, oh, I'm gonna run a double marathon and I haven't ran forever, or like the last run I did was 5 kilometers. How am I gonna run 80? So anyway, I said this to this person, and unfortunately, that person didn't listen to me. Not to say that I'm like Emilio the Almighty, but then after a few weeks, I got a message back like, Emilio, I have to practice a bit more. And I was like, hey, how was it? How did you go on the test? Oh, not really well. And I'm like, oh, surprise, surprise. But hey, I guess, we are all a bit stubborn in different ways. I'm also like that. But, well, I guess the other thing that is quite important to say, and this is like the extra tip just before I finish up, is like why this video in Auckland, or like why this episode in Auckland, New Zealand. It's basically because there was a conference, a translation conference, and I thought, look, now that I have the Australian PR, I can come to New Zealand without a visa. Let me tell you a fun fact. I was, thinking whether to share this or not. I came to New Zealand 6 years ago with my wife. I had like this much, imagine like, I don't know, a big folder, for those of you on Spotify, big folder, full of documents, letters from work, bank statements, you name it, real estate, contract, to apply for a visa to come here. And I think I must have paid like $260. It wasn't cheap, but I thought, hey, it's New Zealand, it must be really cool, Lord of the Rings, whatever, boom. And then, you know, I came. This time, because I've got the PR in Australia, I was freaking out a bit because I'm not used to this, guys. I'm not used to flying to a country other than Australia or Japan or Venezuela. Those are the only three countries where I'm like very relaxed when I travel. And I don't mean it that I get stressed, but normally I have to check for visas, paperwork, and it's just crazy, you know? Without getting into politics, you know, let's just say that the Venezuelan passport is not the strongest, if you know what I mean. And yeah, this time I just said, okay, let me just do my online check-in. And I'm flying with Jetstar. I got this message saying, oh, you have to, since you're going to New Zealand, you have to get a New Zealand e-tag travel, blah, 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 blah. And a part of me is like, oh man, what's that? I've got no idea. And I thought that's not very good. When I checked, it said that I have to pay $15, which is nothing compared to my previous visa fee. But it said that I have to, it may take 24 to 72 hours. And then I started freaking out like a good Venezuelan, like, okay, I was doing that 24 hours before the flight. So I thought, okay, so maybe what could happen to me now is that I'm going to, oh no, sorry, I got lost for a second. Maybe what's going to happen is now I have to, yeah, no, I'll go this way, sorry. Maybe what I thought is that I could, it may take longer, and then either they don't let me check in, or two, and I guess this could be the worst one, is I get to New Zealand somehow, and then the custom officer would take me to their room, if you know what I mean. It is basically where people are taken just to be interrogated, just to double check, making sure that they are not doing anything wrong, etc., or whatever the case may be. And again, I'm telling you from experience, I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna be pulled off or something might happen. But luckily, the whole thing, I mean, like my approval, travel, whatever, got accepted probably like 12 hours after I applied. And I thought like, wow, that's crazy, that's good. Then yes, I just did my check-in, I went to the airport and I asked, I'll tell you something, I'm so traumatized with like my experiences at airports that I printed everything. I printed my PR, I printed the ticket that I paid to go to the conference, the hotel, my plane ticket, of course. I basically printed everything, and I just went to the counter after when I was getting my boarding pass, because my passport never scans, so the machines don't recognize my passport. So I was asking the lady like, oh, I think I did the travel thing, it's been approved, and I've got it here, I printed all my PR and everything. And then she's like, and I just said, you know, is that all in my passport? I'm just double checking. Yeah, don't worry sir, it's all electronic. I think she was like, this gorilla, he just doesn't, you know. But I told her, oh, okay, cool, I just wanted to double check. And it was all good, you know. I basically checked in, but then when I entered New Zealand, obviously my passport wouldn't scan, but luckily I didn't have to have the awkward interaction when the lady at the airport talks to me like I don't understand or speak English, and she's like, please go on this line. And I tell her, look, sorry, my passport doesn't scan. Sir, please go this line, put passport. And then I have to, you know, do it, and she's like, oh yeah, your passport doesn't work, please keep going. But this didn't happen in New Zealand. The officer, super friendly, I gave him the passport, and then he's like, oh, what brings you to New Zealand? And I told him, oh, you know, I'm coming for a conference, I'm a teacher, blah, 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 I'm studying. And he told me, well, he asked me, which conference is it? And I told him, oh, it's a translation and interpreting conference from the New Zealand Society of Translators and Interpreters. And then he asked me, oh, where is it? And I told him, oh, it's in Auckland University of Technology, or Institute of Technology, I get mixed it up. And he said, you won't believe this, I used to work there many years ago. So welcome back. And then he's like, oh, sorry, welcome to New Zealand. When he said to me, welcome back, oh my God, that was such a good feeling. It's really hard to put it into words, but it was a lot of like relief. I guess it is almost that feeling when I got the PR and I said, oh my God, OMG, I don't have to worry about visas anymore. I can finally stay in Australia in a legal way, of course. So yeah, when he said welcome back, I just felt like I'm a Kiwi, or like I felt I'm Aussie, and not Aussie yet, but it was such a good feeling, because normally the conversation wouldn't go like that. It would be more like, oh, I've never seen this passport. What brings you to here, to this country? Even if I say the conference, it could be like, oh, so, and what do you do in Australia? And blah, 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 blah. And a bunch of questioning, which again, I mean, giving officers the benefit of the doubt, I don't think is necessarily profiling, it's just statistics, you know? Unfortunately, because a lot of bad things happen in my country, you know, it is likely that, or there is a higher chance of me coming in and doing something bad, I suppose. But it didn't happen this time, and it was a really, really nice experience. The conference was great. It was extremely motivating because I met some translators and interpreters, some professionals in the field, and a lot of them, well, not a lot, but I met a few that are Japanese and English translators and interpreters. So that was extremely inspiring, and it was like, look, and I told some of them, it was a weird way of getting support. I told them, you know, I'm practicing for this exam, I'm a bit stressed, blah, 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 it's really tough, because some of them are already certified, and they were like, no, look, it's a process, don't give up, you got this. So a part of me just feels that maybe just coming to the conference to have that chat with some of these people was just so much worth it, because yeah, I think with translation, or like let's say with these proficiency exams, sometimes we might feel lonely, or it's like it's a strange loneliness feeling, or maybe a thing that you cannot talk to, or you cannot talk about that with many people. But anyways, meeting them was so good. Lots of inspiration, lots of interesting people, and it's just a good excuse to come to New Zealand. And that's basically why I'm here. And by the way, for those of you who were watching the video, I should have mentioned that I've just finished bungee jumping. It was unreal. So if you ever come to New Zealand, you should go bungee jumping. And well, now I'm in the city center. Look at that. This is the Sky Tower. There is another activity I'm doing where I'm going to be up in that tower, or up in this tower, and there's gonna be like at the very top, as you can see, like the little ring, almost like the planet, planet Saturn. I'm going to be walking outside. That'll be pretty cool. It's called Skywalk, and maybe I'll let you know on my social media whether it is a tourist trap or not. I don't get the feeling that it is, so we'll see. We'll see. So that was a bit of everything, a bit about what happened with the exam, what to do when you fail, what to do, the next steps if you do fail, and what I recommend you do, mainly building a vocab list out of other things you can do. Seek help if you want to pass the test, get in touch, we talked about that as well. And the last bit was, why am I here in New Zealand? So big thank you for joining me. I had a great time making this episode for you, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. Now it is time for me to continue being a tourist before I head back to Australia. So thank you for being with me on this episode. I'll see you in the next one. If you liked it, please let me know about it. Thank you for your support. Leave me a like, leave me a comment or a review on Spotify. It helps a lot. And of course, share this with a friend or with someone who you think should listen to this. Miss me? I'll miss you. We'll be back next week with a really cool interview for for episode 100, and this was episode 99. Take care, miss me, I'll miss you, and bye for now. See ya.